Hey everybody, we are live today with Michelle GI Gardner-Ince. Thanks for joining us, Michelle.
Hey.
So in honor of Women History Month, Michelle and I talked about this a while ago. I figured I would turn my platform over to Michelle to talk about, a LinkedIn top voice in her own right. I feel safe doing that, but I'd like to turn it over to Michelle and we'd have a good conversation about women veterans, building a community, collaboration, challenges. So Michelle, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hey, thank you. Hey, Mike. Hey, LinkedIn fam. What a delight it is, for me to be here with my LinkedIn mentor, Mike Quinn, master of military hiring, Army Sergeant Major, retired in his own right. And what made me not only choose Mike to have this conversation is because, most of Mike's team, and he'll probably say all of his team, are female. And we're here to talk about, not just celebrate International Women's Day, but Women's History Month. And you ladies know that we bring a special power, right? And, one of the things I say as a woman veteran champion is that women veterans are this nation's secret, top secret weapon and untapped resource. And I would say the same with our military spouses, so critical to military readiness. And so, Mike, it's a pleasure. Let's go ahead and get started. And let's just have a conversation. First of all, when I started out on LinkedIn, I didn't really realize the power of it. And, I'd like to kind of talk about just, can you give me a story about, how many times you've helped people reconnect with people they've known from their military career, and how, whether you're pursuing entrepreneurship or employment, that those connections are untapped and powerful. And can you give us a few tips?
Yeah, so Michelle, one of the things, so I teach all the generals, I teach a lot of the E9 community, and I teach at installations as well. And one of the things I'm constantly getting people to understand is LinkedIn is about building a community, right? Ultimately, to do it successfully, you want to build your community. And you can start off with the people you know and then grow from there. But the easiest way to start is the people you know. And we have this special bond in the military. And I can share with you my former commander that I was his command sergeant major for. We haven't talked in a few years. I could pick up the phone and call him, and he would answer, and it'd be like we talked yesterday.
Yes.
I could talk to other people that I served with 10 years ago, and they call. And I have some of my soldiers reach out now that are transitioning, and they're like, "Hey, Sergeant Major, I know you're really busy. Do you have time?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? First of all,
yeah.
But we served together. Of course I've got you. Let's hop on a call." And so, what I'll tell people is the biggest part of the transition, whether it's you're getting out, whether it's you're pivoting, whether it's, starting a business, is about, relationships and trust. It's about having the community that's going to bring that to you.
So true.
And the easiest way to start is with those that know and trust you already. And so what you can do, the easiest way you can do is you could start getting on LinkedIn and, looking for people. But to be honest, one of the first things you can do is import your address book. If you go to My Network and scroll down on the left-hand side, you can actually import your address book for your personal email address.
Wow.
You log in through LinkedIn and it'll pull up everyone on LinkedIn that has an account associated with that primary email address. And so you can go through and start clicking on people there and send connection requests to grow there. And then the other thing, you just have to get beyond asking. If we live together, work together, serve together, deploy together, train together for years.
Well, I think that's something, first of all, I love what you said about, building relationships, because one of the things I always say is build a bridge before you need it. People try to build a bridge and run over it at the same time. It's physically and relationally impossible. Try it. Just try it. You can't. But many times, as part of our military community, right, we already have those bridges are built. There's a great foundation, whether we deployed together, whether we served together. And I love to remember that when I was the commander at Ellsworth Air Force Base, the squadron commander, my husband and I have been trying to have kids for about 5 years. We couldn't. And, we're there 3 months. I guess we just need to slow down and be snowed in. But we got pregnant with my daughter, and my husband deployed to Cuba. And while he came back 2 weeks before my daughter was married, left 2 weeks after. But guess what? All through the winter, those military spouses kicked their husbands out of the house and said, Michelle needs help. Go shovel her snow, right? They made sure if we got early recall in the morning, one of them came over until the babysitter came. And I'm still very good friends with those military spouses from Ellsworth Air Force Base because they understood it was a community. And I'm saying it still is a community, right? And that we as women and women veterans, military spouses, have an opportunity to create that for each other and realize that, while at the VA, we say veteran first, but not veteran only, right? So we award contracts first to veterans, but guess what? You can partner with a military woman veteran and a military spouse, female, and my God, look out, world. You get those two together, there's nothing that they can't do. You know that from your team, Mike. So, I love the fact that we can, but we should build these bridges and reach out more. And I hope this will be the beginning of doing that. So let's talk a little bit about, I followed your lead, about using LinkedIn to brand before they leave the military, right? Or before, like you mentioned, maybe before a military spouse transitions to another location or another occupation. What should we be thinking about?
I mean, so many people look at brand and they don't really understand it. It's not something you turn on. It's not something you just flip on when you need it. It's something that's developed over time. And so when we talk about brand, I like to say brand is just relationships, right? And not only that, it's your reputation, right? It's what you're known for. It's what people think about you when you're not in the room or what they say. It's do people think about you when an opportunity comes up? Do people think about you when they need to purchase a service? Do people think about you when they need help? I mean, that's what we have to get about. And you don't become known for something unless you're posting about it, unless you're sharing about it and engaging on those topics.
Why do you think we military have such a block or an aversion to posting? Why do you? I mean, even those who don't have the top secret clearances. I mean, what do you think that is?
Even with the top secret clearances, that has nothing to do with it. As a former CI guy, we just have some dinosaurs in the. Yeah. But really, what it comes down to is, and I'm going to be honest here, is that the military, all the guidance that comes out is what not to do, right? Sure. So you've got, OSD public affairs saying, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. You've got each of the services public affairs saying, don't do this, don't do this. You've got the public affairs teams at major commands that are like, we need to control the message, right? And what's happening is nobody's saying, do this. Do this. Sure. Like, hey, we want you to share the good. You got a new DFAC, you got a new commissary, new PX, somebody just graduated from college.
Yes.
You just got promoted, you just finished a fitness, you got a personal record in your PT scores. You helped someone pass, like all the amazing things about the military.
Yes.
Nobody shares them.
And it's important because what you're saying is so important because the average American doesn't really get to see our world day to day, right?
They only see the bad. They only see the stuff that, the shootings from somebody that was a veteran 20 years ago.
True.
Or, the bad things that happen on bases. They don't realize that's like 1.5% of what's going on. And the problem is there's not enough good being shared. And so that impacts brand for the services, that
Yes.
impacts retention, it really impacts recruiting.
I was going to say that.
Because
Yeah.
you and I can get on here and talk about why we love the Air Force and the Army all day.
Yeah.
The only 17-year-olds we're convincing are our own.
Exactly.
Maybe, they need the 17 and 18-year-olds that, the 18, 19-year-olds that are in service, sharing that they love about the military on their platforms, not necessarily LinkedIn, like on
Yes.
Facebook, on
Yes.
Insta or Gram, whichever one it is, on Twitch, talking about while they're gaming, on, God forbid, TikTok, just not on a government or my phones, whatever.
Yeah.
But like they need to share it on all of their platforms, because that's where they build trust. And so if we bring that back to us in our community, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to be active in building relationships and becoming known for something. And that's what we get by sharing it. And the easiest way to do that is to share the authentic you.
Yes.
Don't worry about the LinkedIn police. Tell those LinkedIn police to go somewhere, go to another country, do it somewhere else, right? You have to share authentic you, but authentic you that you're comfortable sharing with everyone in the office.
Right.
That's the criteria.
Right.
If you wouldn't feel comfortable saying this about everyone in your office, don't say it on LinkedIn.
That's true.
Share hobbies, share accomplishments, share interests.
Yes.
Well, get out there, because what happens is when you connect with someone and they start seeing things that they have in common, like say you CrossFit or you cycle or you hike or you garden, and then they see professional stuff, like you're working in project management, you're doing budgeting, you're doing scheduling, you just finished this project. The personal stuff builds a personal connection, but if we only see personal, we never think of you for an opportunity.
True.
So you build the personal connection through the personal stuff, but you have to share enough of the professional stuff that I trust you, because, hey, I know we both do LinkedIn. We both have this stuff in common. We're veterans, retired Air Force Colonel, Army Sergeant Major, all that stuff. But I also have to share enough of my business side so that you're like, hey, someone asked me for help staffing. I thought of you, Mike. Let's connect.
Yeah.
See where I'm going with that? So you have to document your total self.
Well, right? I'll tell you, Mike, after I saw you on LinkedIn and I watched you, how honest, straightforward you were, right? I said to myself, okay, what do I want? What do I want to be known for? And us GIs, no pun intended. I took a plain sheet of paper. I drew a line, horizontal and a vertical and horizontal, and there were 4 squares, right? And I said, just like you said, top squares, what do I want to be known for? Mm-hmm. When people think of me, what do I want? Woman, veteran, champion, thought leader, minority veterans. That's Then on the other one side, I said, what am I not going to comment on? What am I not? I don't want any association with. And I put some of those things in there. Nothing religious, nothing political, nothing controversial. Now, I do post on some controversial things, but if I decide to, sometime I don't allow comments, right? Yep. Just because I'm like, I just want to put it out there. It's my thoughts. I don't really want anybody else. The bottom right-hand corner, I said, what are my hobbies? Just like you said. And I put those there. Then the other right-hand bottom corner, I said, these things are associated with the veteran community, but are not me, right? Mm-hmm. I don't do military sexual trauma. I don't do, homelessness. I don't do some of those things, not because I don't care about them, but like you said, it's got to be consistent enough that people know, hey, what problem is Mike solving? He's solving staffing problems. He's solving transition problems. He's solving hiring problems. Mm-hmm. So if you're all over the place, because this veteran community is wide, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff going on, but we have to be very niched. I call it. We have to be very niched and focused. So I think having, even though the people we know may know us, hey, GI's a really good person, Mike's a really good person, but if they don't know what we're selling, right? I let me say this: if they don't know what we're solving, right? Then really becomes, well, I'm not sure. I know they're good people, but I'm not sure what to go to them for.
Mhm.
So I think, I mean, those, I just kind of tried to wrap up kind of in a
No,
nutshell what you said.
I think that's perfect. What I'll say is that if you're starting early enough, it's okay to focus on the average everyday stuff. You know, especially for transitioning service members.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The challenge is you've got to start if you really want to be like if you want to be getting out and people think of you for opportunities, you either have to have that network, so it's usually going to be like defense contracting in your unit,
Mm-hmm.
you need
Mm-hmm.
relations with people, they think about you, or it's got to be very intentional. Like you have to expand your network and share relevant content to create those opportunities. And that means you have to know what people in that desired field are looking for. You've got to
Yes.
speak to their challenges, their problems, right? So
Yes.
one of the great examples, Albert Bellamy, Marine officer, artillery officer. I met him on an event, one of our mastering LinkedIn sessions, and I was doing a profile reviews, and it was like once and future data king, and I was like, right? That's kind of your response was mine. I was like, what?
Yeah.
But he's like, look, I'm a Marine, and then he changed it like the Marine that smiles at spreadsheets, you know. But it was quirky. But you know, regardless of what his thing said, for the better part of like 8 to 10 months, he was posting data. He was going on data
Yeah. Yeah.
analysis podcasts. He was
Yes.
highlighting other data people's posts. He was
Yes.
sharing the classes he was taking. Like there was a consistent thread of data analytics, so that he had multiple opportunities come to him from non-DoD agencies when it came to getting out. And so like when I think
That's
of
so cool.
done right, I mean, that's a Marine transitioning into data. It's not your
Yeah.
normal, like,
Yeah.
and he's still doing it. And so,
But it was his cadence, right? It was his cadence and his deliberates, right? He was deliberately, I'm going to march to this beat, this tune on these things over and over for 8, 9 months. And then I tell people it's like advertising, right? It's not advertising, but it is advertising.
Mhm.
You know, in what problems you're solving, what issues you're addressing, and what needs you're meeting. That's the bottom line. Because if you don't do that, people, and I had this problem when I transitioned, Mike. You know, I thought I could do everything. I still think I can, but I just don't tell people, right? But I don't think I can do everything. I just think, you know, I think I know enough to know what I don't know and find the right people who know the things I don't. So, but that was just kind of a joke, but it was really true. People would say, oh, they'd be interviewing me for this. And then I'd go off on some other tangent during the interview and then wonder why I never got called back because I was talking about things that really didn't meet their needs. So,
yeah. And I think you have to share some of the work related stuff, some of the things, some of your challenges you're coming. You can start with leadership, but at some point you have to start focusing on other things. What processes did you fix? What solutions did you bring? What accomplishments did the organization achieve under your leadership that was you doing it, not your subordinates doing it, right? So, but the key is just getting out there and posting. Another great example, Jose Velasquez. He was the public affairs sergeant major, and he got out and he started engaging. And I had to tell him it's not really good right off the bat. You know, I got on a call with him like, Jose, what are you doing? You're trying to make everything so perfect, right? You're still in like public affairs mode. People want to know you. What you solved. And he like went the other direction and is killing it. And you know, everybody loved him, his stories.
Yes, the stories.
Saying, right? You've got to, but I challenged him. I said, Jose, I want you to post every day for 30 days. Because I want him to hit that wall and still find something to post. I was like, I don't care if it's just like, this is my post for today. Like you have to post something every day to break through that internal barrier so you're not scared of it anymore.
So, and if you look at everything that you do is a story. Every experience is a story. It depends whether it's, you know, whether it's, I like to tell a story of, I was in the Pentagon and a welfare to work lady came to work for me. And my boss said, Michelle, I want you to supervise her. I was like, oh, I don't really want to do it. He's like, no, you'll be really good. Well, let me tell you, she stayed with us for 6 months. She had 6 kids, 6 baby daddies, and I was like, we don't use that word. Let's talk professional language. Yeah, baby daddy number 1, this and baby. I'm like, girl, okay. But the point of what I'm really trying to say is we got the opportunity to help her. And this is when I understand the power of influence, Mike. At the end of that period, I said I wanted all of her children to have coats and backpacks and school supplies, right? I wanted her to have professional dress. And so what we did was a shower of blessings.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, this is before the internet. I sent through the military email system, hey, to all my girlfriends, tell your other girlfriends, I'm raising money for this young lady and her 6 kids. No lie. We raised $3,000. Every kid had backpacks, coats, school supplies. We were able to buy her shoes, an entire outfit, just because I asked, Mike.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I want to transition to is,
Oof.
well, how can we ask? But that's when I really understood that our influence is greater, no matter how small we think we are, how we don't really have this great, presence. It is our influence. We can influence the people we're around, and they will help us because they know our heart is good, because they know our character, right? And we've been consistent with that character, and that military character of leadership, service, excellence, all the resilience permeates through our community. So how can we ask more, Mike?
I mean, I'm going to tell you, that's the biggest challenge for people getting out is learning how to ask. It's like there's an aversion to it. When I teach my workshops and people are like, you're going to ask a stranger for advice. I'm like, yes, absolutely. Just reach out and ask. What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
That maybe they say no. They probably won't say no. They might just not answer. And then you ask 9 other people and maybe you get 3 yeses, and those conversations can change your life. And what I also have to tell people is think about yourself 5 years from now. You get out, you find your success, you're happy in your career, and a veteran, a transitioning service member reaches out and says, hey, I noticed your Air Force, I noticed your Army, found your success doing XYZ. I'm getting out in 6 months. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what's next. Do you have a few minutes to give me some advice? And I'm like, what would you say? And every one of them are like, absolutely. I'm like, so why do you think it's different for somebody else?
Yeah.
Like, you're putting barriers up to asking. It's the same thing, when it comes to, speaking engagements.
Yes.
First couple of years, I didn't ask for money. I felt uncomfortable asking for money.
Yeah.
And then you know what happened? My business partner verbally spanked me. Like verbally, she's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, companies will take free all day.
Yes, they will.
But they value what they pay for.
Yes.
And you just have to ask. And so, I'm still getting better at the ask, but I realized that for years, had I just asked to be compensated, oh sure, what are your speaker fees?
Yeah.
Or oh sure, here's our budget. Will that work? And it's a huge difference. And then, but you have to learn how to ask. I mean,
and I think it's in our military community, right? Both whether it's a military spouse or a veteran, we're used to selfless serving, right? I mean, think about all the functions, all the events, all the activities we've done for years at no cost. I mean, there was a cost, but
right.
No cost. And so I think, and I even struggle with asking. And I think I've gotten over I call it the mindset, because the mindset going from being in service to providing a service for a fee requires a mindset that I did that for free, but it cost me. I was away from my family. I was, I had stress while my husband or my spouse was gone. It cost me. That service cost me. And now is my time, because we all know you don't go in the military to make money, to get rich, is now's the time to say this service, what is the market value? And I talk to businesses about this all the time. What is the market value? If they're paying $10, $15, $20,000 for speakers, why wouldn't Mike be able to ask for that? If they're paying, $5,000 for marketing fees, to set up websites or whatever your particular, service or product is, look and do market research. And I think LinkedIn is great for market research, maybe not for pricing. You can go out there and find somebody, then go to their website and find what their pricing is, right? Or I call it funnel hacking. Go through their process, right? Act like you are a client or you want that service and go through and find out what the pricing, is. And then you come back and say, okay, I think I can charge that. That's one of the advice I give to some of the businesses is just a funnel hack.
And
why are you laughing?
Or you can add, because number one, that's very Intel-like. I love it.
Yeah.
So that was what I was thinking. I wasn't sure if I was going to say it. So I appreciate that. Number two, you could always just ask what their budget is.
Yeah.
What's your budget? And that's a great way to start the conversation as well. So there's a lot of different ways to ask. And it's not just about fees for services. One of the other things, I have a buddy that was getting out a few years back, and I made some introductions to executives at the company where he ended up working. And he's a buddy. We text every once in a while, check in. He's doing great. I gave him, we used to talk all the time during his transition. Probably hadn't really talked in about 6 months or so, but I meet him at the E9 breakfast this morning. And I'm like, hey, we were just chatting for a minute before he's leaving. I'm like, wait a minute. We're starting to expand into government contracting, right? And so we're looking for large businesses to partner with as an SDVOSB to fill out some of their small business requirements. And I know you're in the same sector as us. Are there any opportunities you like to do these? And he's like, well, yeah, Mike, actually we're having trouble filling some people on one of these big contracts and we're obligated
Look at that.
to VOSB. So let me see if I can connect you to the senior manager that's doing that. But here's the thing of it is, he doesn't have ESP.
True that.
Right? You can't read my mind and see what I need or what I need or what help I require or what I'm thinking or the challenges. Neither do these mentors, all these people in your network that take time to speak with you will likely do more, but you have to tell them, ask. Same thing. So across the board, I can't tell you how many times I've given my phone number, my personal phone number, to senior military leaders and said, look, my network is your network. I know you well enough that if you want an introduction, you just call me and I will do a personal introduction without a hesitation to anyone in my network. I've got a pretty big network. Yeah. Right. 5% maybe take me up on it.
But sometimes I'm just going to say this, and I had this conversation. I kind of had a mini conversation on LinkedIn with another young lady that helps general officers start their business, right? And she was saying how, hurt she was, and I related to this, that there was an opportunity. She found out that somebody she knew relatively well was in that room and did not mention her name. And this is what I say, you want to be around people who, when they see opportunity, they mention your name. But what happens, Mike, is people put us in boxes. They say, oh, I only know Mike for this. I only know GI for that. So even when we offer, even when we say that's what they do, because people know me, most of the senior military officers know me for protocol, for doing events, for, coordinating things, but they don't think of me for government contracting. They don't think of me for opportunities to connect them with other small businesses that could help them. And that's because I was in the military 27 years and That's mostly what they know me for. So like trying to convert that, is
Yeah.
tough.
I mean, so I got two thoughts on that. One,
Okay.
most of them know me for LinkedIn, which is networking. So
Yes,
shame
yes,
on
yes.
them
Yeah, true,
if they
true,
don't
true.
pick a phone call. If they don't pick up, I had mentors that said it to me. That's how I got to EY. I texted a mentor and said, "Do you know anyone
Wow.
at EY?" And he goes, "Yeah, Mike. One of my former mentors is a partner there. He did a quick email intro to the two of us." And a couple of days later, I was having coffee in the Tyson's office. 3 days after
Wow.
that, I was at a final on-site interview. Like I
Wow.
would not have gotten there other way. So you've got to get beyond. You've got to feel comfortable asking.
True.
Number
True.
two, I think the ones that aren't like that are putting us in a box or are not saying our name is the difference between mentors and sponsors. Right? So you've got mentors that you can go
Yep.
to questions that will answer your questions and provide feedback. You have sponsors that are going to talk about you in the room you're not in, that are going to think
Yes.
of you an opportunity.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so you have to, when I talk to a lot of people about the transition, is you have to get to a point where you have 3 to 5 at least sponsors in your desired field. And
So
so
true.
what I'll tell people is like, it's great if we have a call. Like if I take a lot of calls with people and I get a lot of messages I respond to, and every single one of them, I give them something to do. Something that takes more than 2 minutes to do, some work. And I wait for them to come back and say, I did it.
Right.
And if they don't come back and say, I did it, then I'm just a mentor. Ask me questions, I'll answer on occasion. The ones that come back and say, hey, Mike, I did this. Thanks for the advice. Here's the results. They're the ones that are worth my time. They're the ones that are going to put in the work. I'm not saying no one's not worth my time, but I have to triage and I want to invest my time
in people who want to invest in themselves.
Right?
Yes.
In the beginning, I took all the calls. I'd spend an hour on the phone with someone, give them all the tips on how to fix their profile. They'd never do it. And I'm like, I just wasted an hour of my life.
Wow.
So,
well, no, you didn't, but yeah,
you get what I'm saying. So
yeah.
Given that to somebody that would have taken it, run with it, and then taught others
and gone. Well,
right?
It's like the parable of the seed, right? Sometimes you plant a seed in fertile ground, and sometimes the seed is planted, but it takes a little while.
Yeah.
Somebody else has got to come throw fertilizer, water on it, and then it grows later. But John Maxwell says something that sums up exactly what you said, Mike. And he said everybody needs tour guides and travel agents, right? If you're a travel agent, where do you want to go? How fast do you want to get there? Bus, train, car? What do you want to see when you get there? Do you want to stay first class, or whatever? But the key thing is they do not go with you. They send you. A tour guide, on the other hand, will help you with all those things, but they're holding up the flag saying this way. Hey, we're going this way. And they're there with you in the valleys. They're there with you, in the peaks. And when you get ready to go around the corner and they say, hey, get your rain gear because it's going to rain. And you're like, it's a perfectly nice day. What are you talking about? It's going to rain. Right. And you don't put on your raincoat and everybody else does because around that corner, they know during this time, this season, there's a torrential rain. And so, I agree. Everybody needs at least one or two, if you're blessed to have more than that, tour guides, but have as many travel agents as you can because everybody's taking a different route. They may tell you some things, but they're not investing their personal, I call it their personal stock, right? Their personal stock with their network, with their resources, unless they're a tour guide.
Right.
That's just the bottom line.
And here's what it comes down to. The guy that introduced me to the partner at EY, I did not know before I left the military. Wow. Well, I knew him I met him during my transition on LinkedIn.
Wow.
The majority of my mentors, I was an Intel Sergeant Major. I didn't know a whole lot of people outside of the Intel field. And so the majority of the mentors and sponsors, the tour guides and travel agents that I met were via LinkedIn. And so what I'll share with people is you can build these relationships. You can have as many tour guides as you're going to put in the work to develop. And all it is get your profile good enough so we know you put work into it, right? And then it's about expanding your network intentionally, connecting with people, getting the phone calls. And then there's 2 keys to this. Like if you can get to a phone call, well, there's 3 keys. The first thing is when you're on the phone call, make sure the phone call is more about them speaking, about hearing their story, about learning from them and being an active listener instead of us, the transitioning people, service members, talking about what we do, what we could bring, what we want for a job. So one is talk to the person and come prepared with questions that let them know that you're really interested in learning from them. 2, it's say thank you. And it's hard, but we're used to intrusive leadership in the military. And so you don't have to say thank you. You're actually programmed not to say thank you in a lot of ways to your senior leaders for investing themselves in you and making time and pulling you in for a counseling session to teach you what you need to do to get to the next level or 2, right?
Right.
So we have to say thank you during the meeting, but then I will usually say, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, within 24 hours, send a follow-up message that says thank you. And what that does is it hits them again, but it also, there's a permanent record in the LinkedIn inbox that shows that you have EQ, that you're going to say thank you and you appreciate it. And the third thing is write down, if they recommend you do anything in the call, write that beep down, right? Write it down. And then if you want that person to be a sponsor, you have to go, if it's read a book, go buy the dang book and read the book. I've had somebody say that, they're like, you should read this book. And I said, go get the dang book and read it. And then send them a message, say, I read the book. Thank you.
And these were the key points.
Right?
Yeah.
And
this is what I learned.
And it blows
them away. It does.
If you value what I say, I'm going to give you stuff, you're going to do it. You are worth investment. And so you can do this. Like you could have 50 sponsors, which is really, I don't know how many sponsors you and I have, because relationships and trust, regular engagement, you have companies reaching out all the time. Somebody on their team is a sponsor. They have a need, and someone says we should reach out to hire military. Right. And so the idea is we just need to continue to engage that way. And you have to intentionally expand your network. You need quantity to get more quality. So I have to tell people that.
True. I agree.
If you intentionally keep growing your network every day and then connecting with the people that organically come together, you'll build a lot of quality.
Yes.
That quantity. I almost messed that up. But it's all doable on this platform. And
it is. I love LinkedIn. I mean, mainly I don't do, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I'm not really on TikTok, or I'm on Twitter, but I'm not really intentionally there.
Right.
Because LinkedIn, I think I tell everybody it's about business. And because it's about business, there's a little less, it's less messy. I'll just put it that way. It's less messy. I'm not saying there's no mess, but it's less messy. And I think that basically when we're talking about building business relationships, that's what you want, right? You want it to be about business. Yes, people do business with who they know, like, and trust. But that trust comes from, the speed of trust operates at the speed of which you are authentic and intentional.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're intentional about building a relationship with someone and it's authentic, you're not asking, but you're serving and solving. That's how I approach it. I'm always seeking to solve. You remember, Mike, when we had our first conversation, I'm like, Mike, how can I help you? What can I do? Because I believe the circle, you can call it karma. You can call it you reap what you sow. I call it, you reap what you sow, but not necessarily where you sow. Right. Yep. So just because you are denied or someone doesn't pay you attention on this thing, doesn't mean they're not watching. The timing, you know how it is with sales. Sometimes the budget isn't right. Sometimes the opportunity, they've got other things that have to be worked out to bring this opportunity to the point where it's really ready, or they've got to go through all these decision making a bureaucracy. There's all these things. It doesn't mean no.
Right.
So if you just keep putting planks on that bridge,
Mhm.
right, just building that foundation, you'll get there. And when you said quantity versus quality, will get you to the quality, because at first I was like, I'm trying to get to women veterans, but these guys keep following me. What is up with that? Right? I didn't get it.
It's good.
But it's all good. I mean, it's like I was like, am I attracting? That's not who I'm trying to attract. So what do you say to that? Like when you're intentionally trying to attract a certain community, right? But you're getting others. I'm like, I don't know what that.
I mean, it's additional. You're just building additional trust, right?
Yeah.
Those guys, you want to get to women veterans because you want to advocate for them.
Yes.
There are so many challenges, but some of those men are going to be in the room, right? When a decision's made, and maybe there's not a woman in the room, and because they follow you and hear about the challenges, they speak up and say, "Hey, what about women veterans? What about military spouses?"
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I think that's the goal of it. Just one funny little anecdote there. When we did meet, you gave me a big fat hug. So don't think like it seemed like it felt like we already knew each other. So
I know.
I gave her a hug back. So and obviously I
awesome.
recognized her. She's very recognizable. So much energy in a tiny package. but like I saw you in the room and I was like, oh, there's Michelle, and you were like, oh, there's Mike, and we came up and got a hug, and it was just like we knew each other. But that was
forever.
Yeah, but that's from engagement.
And that's what I think, though, that, I think if we could talk, I know we've got about 15, 17 minutes left, Mike. We could talk about that LinkedIn, the online presence is just the beginning. And I think you really, hit it, that when we saw each other, I felt like, I mean, I don't even know this guy, like, other than, I follow him, we communicate on LinkedIn sometimes. And I just hugged him. I didn't even ask him, because I just felt that connected to you, because I consistently saw who you were and who you are all those years, right? And it was authentic, and I felt like I already knew you. And can we kind of talk about, why it's important to build that online, and then have that be the same kind of persona offline? Or when you meet in person.
I mean, so the problem with branding is when you try to make it too intentional, it's not authentic. So I can tell you that I am the same person here in my posts that I am in person and on my webinars. Like, this is me, like ugly parts and all, like not everybody's cup of tea. I'm very direct. Like, I spend a lot of time, and there's sometimes where I just don't have time to like, coddle people. Like, I'm a retired sergeant major. We're not supposed to coddle you.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you what you need, or what I believe you need. And if you show the willingness to go do that, then there's more advice down the road.
Yes.
But I'm kind of a rip the Band-Aid off kind of guy. And I think a lot of people love that.
Yeah,
and there
I do.
are a bunch of people that really don't like that either.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? I think we have to get to understand that, you're not going to go to a conference with 20,000 people and like everybody, or have everybody like you. It's this, you have to get beyond this, where we're looking for like every single person to agree with you, to like you, to, we have to get to a point where we're just looking to build our community, where we're connected with people that have similar backgrounds, interests, expertise, people that care about some of the same things, that are passionate about the same things, that don't make you rub you the wrong way. Right. I think that's what we have to get to. And that comes from being authentic, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be authentic in your engagement. And I will tell you, my good friend Alfredo Torres was one of the people that told me to do more videos, because he said my written posts, people were misinterpreting some of the passion as like anger or something. He's like, brother, you have to do more short videos.
Yeah.
You have to do them so people can see the you that I know. And so that's why I make sure that I keep doing these videos and engagement, because
that's cool. I probably need to do that. I do a lot of LinkedIn audio. I don't do as much video because I'm so, I've been a cheerleader since I was 8. So all the drama and expressions, all that, yeah, dance, the whole dance team thing. So, sometimes I remember a mentor of mine, I'll just kind of take a quick segue. A mentor of mine told me when I made Colonel, he said, Michelle, you've got to choose the Eagles, the look, or the mouth, but you can't do all three. He said, so like, if you're gonna, if you're not happy with somebody, give them a look with the Eagles, but not the look, the Eagles and the mouth, right? Because my tongue is sharp, much like you. I'm very direct, right? It is what you get is what you get. Everybody doesn't like me. Sometimes people are like, oh, it's way too much energy or too much drama. So you just accept that's what it's all about, right? And that's what community is about. You're building community, right, with people who are like-minded, have like goals, like who are focused on the same thing. Thank you so much for that comment. Do we have time for any? Is there a question or something?
Well, I want to, before Salima gets off, I want to talk to like how relationships are built and how it aligns with similar backgrounds and interests. And I will say that there are different levels of connection that make it easier for someone to invest time with you, to make it easier for someone to take a phone call. And so like what I'll start off is like, if you're a veteran and you're connected with another veteran, there's a thread that's stronger than being an alumni or anything else like that, but you're still a veteran. We can be very different, right? Now, if you're a veteran from the same branch of service, like that's the next level, right? Like, oh, you're an Army veteran, I'm an Army veteran. If you're in the same career field, like that's the next level. If you were a similar rank, that's the next level. So for me, with all the E9s out there, I'm much more, amenable to connecting and spending time on them because I know what it was like to get to that and I know what they bring. So the reason I say this, because I saw, I think it's Salima comment, thank you, I didn't want her to take off yet, is to understand that women veterans, I would say endure but face very specific challenges that are specific to being women and veterans. I mean, everything from the woman veteran being with a man, and people assume that the man is the veteran.
True.
To the women that were the first women in certain male dominant units.
True.
To the women in battlefields, like to all the challenges being so small of a percentage of the military. And so what I'll say is that there's no reason that any woman, military or veteran, shouldn't be able to search on LinkedIn for other women veterans. All you have to do is add the filter, past company, whatever the branch of service is, and then scroll down till there's a woman. Hey, Michelle, I noticed you're an Air Force veteran that found success at the VA. I'm in the Air Force. I'm getting out in 6 months. I think I want to go into government service. Do you have a few minutes to give me some advice? All the best.
Absolutely.
Michelle,
Absolutely.
like you're going to take that
absolutely
99 times out of 100.
99.
Right?
And I want to say, more military spouses and more women veterans need to have that on their profile, because I find that some don't have it on there. And I'm like, I had to search down, like I'll get all the way down in their profile to go, they were in the Air Force.
Yeah. That's one part, but then also the whole military spouse side. I mean, discrimination still exists.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate.
Yes.
And I hate to say this, but when military spouses, there's Jennifer saying it, he gets thanked for his service all the time.
Yep. So true.
But when it comes to military spouses apply for jobs, and companies assume that they're going to be moving in a year or 2 years.
True.
And they have to face that. Like I talk to military spouses all the time. They're like, do I list it in my headline? And I'm like, that depends. Right? How you realize it might create some opportunities.
I never thought about that. Very good point.
Away. And then the other part I'll say about this, and this is a little scary, is does someone that never served know that military spouses are going to move in a year to 2 years? Probably not. Right? So it's usually veterans that are involved in that process, unfortunately. It's horrible because military spouses are the most economically disadvantaged group in the United States at 24%.
Yes.
24% unemployment. That's not accounting the ones that just take jobs to take jobs.
Right.
They're highly, highly educated, adaptable.
Yeah.
Most of my company is killing it because we have military spouses. By the way, Lucy Robinson's at Ellsworth. So that's Alaska, right?
That's in South Dakota.
Oh, South Dakota. She was in Minot. Now she's in.
Minot. Why not Minot? Yes.
Yep. Now she's in.
Elmendorf.
Elmendorf. Is that Fairbanks? Is that Elmendorf? I got it mixed up. Oh, they're both very cold.
Yes.
So they both get snowed in.
Yes.
So, but I mean, like, I've seen I've seen the power of military spouses. I've seen, how you just give them an opportunity, you give them trust, you empower them. And what I've seen, and this is maybe a little cliche, but for most military spouses, you can give them a task and you don't have to tell them how to do it.
They get it done.
I mean, like, I don't need detail. Like, I'll go figure it out because they're so used to being in that gray space. And
that's the secret power. That's the oh my God. That is the secret power, of military spouses, is that, they're left oftentimes and they've got to handle problems that they've never handled before, or deal with issues they've never dealt with before, whether it's children, whether it's family, whether it's job, or even, sometime it may be things for the military that to support his career, that they have to do. And I'm a military, my husband was in the military. So, and my mother was Army Wife of the Year for 1973. So, I saw firsthand.
That's my birth year.
You're such a baby.
Look at that. I'm still young. I'm still in my 40s.
You are. You lucky guy, you. So I got to see my mom firsthand. She told the story. I'm going to try to interview her in May for the military spouse month. But she talked about when she arrived at my dad's first duty station, she made sure that I had boots, coat, and everything. But she arrived there in the winter, and she didn't even have boots. She didn't even think of herself. She was trying to make sure all the stuff for my dad was ready and taken care of, for the house was taken care of. And she didn't even think of herself. And I think that is a real indication of how military spouses are. They will always put others before themselves, their children, their husbands, the community, other spouses. And I just want to salute them today and just say that, if there's an opportunity, you see anybody on my profile that has a woman veteran-owned business that you would like a connection to, or if you're interested in, anything that I do, I'm involved in, and I can serve or help, I would be absolutely, honored to do so, because there's a superpower there. One of our most powerful woman veteran businesses. She is the Air Force veteran CEO, and her COO is a military spouse, and they are killing it. They're in the top fastest 100 veteran-owned companies in the country, according to Inc. So they're the model. It can be done. Another mother-daughter, J-Land Solutions. That was Arlo's Solutions, but J-Land Solutions. She's a retired Chief E9. She brought her daughter in the business, then kicked her out. They told the story on one of my podcasts last week, kicked her out, and she now has her own business, and they're both killing it. Huh. And, she's the daughter is a Navy veteran, a Navy spouse. So, it works. I've seen it work. If I can help, let's do it. And I think LinkedIn is a great mechanism for us to make those connections, Mike. And we got about 5 minutes. Any last words, Mike? Any questions or comments on the screen for us, Olivia?
I mean, I don't see any in the comment section.
Okay.
Like specific questions. I would just say that you hit the nail on the head. You need to build the bridge before you need it. All I want is people to share, their success, share what they're doing, engage, constantly grow their network. My advice I give in my workshops is I have a daily, homework that I tell people to do. Like every day, add 10 connection requests, and you can filter them. They don't all have to messages, but like really think about where you want to grow your network, and every day connect with 10 people, right? And then at least do 5 comments a day. Scroll through your feed, right? And add comments, not comment for reach, but you could just say like, great job. I really love this. Never thought about it that way. You're talking about 1 minute to 2 minutes, right? But what happens is when you comment on people's posts, they're seeing your picture, your name, your headline, your comment. It's like creating these touch points that make it feel like they know you. And then the last thing is just share something 2 to 3 times a week. And what I tell people is if you do that 10, 5, 3, over the course of a year, you're going to have added 2,000 connections or more.
Wow.
You're going to, and we're talking about 5-10 minutes a day. You're going to have built hundreds of new relationships, because when you comment on posts that resonate with you, there's a good chance your posts are going to resonate with them. And you can create all these touch points that lead to relationships. And then you're going to be known for something. If you post 2 to 3 times a week for an entire year, we're talking about 150 posts. You're going to start getting more comfortable posting. You're going to start seeing what works. You're going to see what resonates with your community that you're building, and you're going to do more of that by habit. And so when you do that, that's when you really create a brand. And we're talking about a year, right?
Yeah. That's consistency. Yeah.
Right. If you need to do it faster, then you need to do 10 to 15 comments, and maybe you need to post 5 times a week. Mm-hmm. But like you have to continually share and engage to build like we didn't. If we had not met so often on this platform, Michelle,
true.
If we had not engaged and seen each other's faces and our videos and our posts, we would have never known each other.
True. Very true.
Right?
Very true. Yeah.
And let's learn more. Maybe we'll hop on a call sometime. And instead,
I would love that.
But instead, it was a hug, and it's like, how do we talk more?
Yes.
And it's because we built the relationship over time. So that's what I'll tell, our women veteran, our military spouse community is just take time, start now, start building it so it's there when you need it. And I'll turn it over to you for the last words, Michelle.
Great. Well, I think this is a great opportunity to celebrate not only connections and, just to understand more about the importance of building community and connections on this great platform. And I believe military women, military spouses, and the veteran community as a whole have an advantage, a leg up from the rest of folks on LinkedIn, because we already have a community that we came out of, right? We already have deep experiences. I love to say that if you served a deployment with somebody for 1 year, it equals to 5 years in civilian. Yeah. Almost like dog years, right? 5 years of just time with someone because of the intensity of that experience, how much you needed to depend on each other, right? How much you got to know each other. You got to see each other in your high and your low. In that 1 year means that you can pick up the phone 20 years later and make a phone call. I will tell you that since 2000, I got a BlackBerry in the year 2000. I've never deleted a contact since then. I've been transferring via Excel spreadsheet, phone to phone to phone. And guess what? The numbers and the addresses may be outdated, but the names aren't. And where I met them are not. So I now can go to Facebook, look on LinkedIn. I just met, great point. I was stationed with the very first Black female pilot in the Army in Korea. Mm-hmm. She was my sorority sister. We started the Korea chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha together. Never knew, I was there 2 years. She was there too. I never knew she was the first Black female pilot. She was so modest. She never mentioned it. We were partying, having all kinds, but I just made contact with her again on LinkedIn because I was celebrating women veterans. And I looked up and I said, wait a minute. And I was doing research online. I was like, Marcella, I know Marcella. And I messaged her and like, girl, why didn't you tell me? But anyway, I want to say happy Women's History Day to you. Mike, thank you for this opportunity. Women veterans, women, military spouses, let's connect. Let's grow this community, right? And let's take this untapped resource that we have and just take over the world and make some stuff happen for everybody. Economic freedom, employment, and just community and supporting each other. So Mike, thank you for giving me this opportunity. It was a blast. Thanks to your amazing all-female team. Yes.
Almost all. I do have a couple guys.
Okay. And a few good men. That's what I call
There
it.
you go.
And a few good men.
Actually, it really is a few good men. So they're pretty cool too. So
Yes.
thank you, Michelle. This has been amazing.
Likewise. Happy to do it anytime. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, LinkedIn fam. Appreciate you guys.